Lovely people, welcome back to another Writing Tip Tuesday. I'm Sammy, and I'm a writer who likes to help other writers become better writers. This week, I want to share a little bit about my process. I have a play that I am working on revising, so I wanted to walk through what my game plan is for revising this play, why I'm revising this play, what the play is, so I can tell you about my process and maybe you can get something out of it. Otherwise, you can just tag along and see what my thought process is. I wrote this play in 2018 and I think it has more potential than I had initially given it the space to grow into. And at this point in my life, I am older, wiser, and significantly less full of myself. And I think those things are going to make this a lot more interesting, dynamic, and a better overall story. And I know I have the potential to tell it, so I'm really excited to actually do that. So what is the original play? I was in Playwriting 1 in college, and it is our final play, I think. I'm not entirely sure. It's a one-act play. It's very simple. It was inspired by a news article about birds getting drunk off of fermented berries in Minnesota, which I actually talked about in my Coming Up With Ideas video. It definitely has a lot of potential, but it is not honed in. It is definitely something that happened 4 years ago and not at the level that I know that I'm at right now. And I definitely think I can make it significantly better by just giving it more time. It definitely needs a second act. So one of the main topics that I am addressing in this play is police brutality, which is a crazy thing to say in combination with the fact that it's about birds, but it makes sense in the grand scheme of things. And I think knowing that little tidbit is something that's super important for how I'm going through a lot of the critiques that I have on myself. So let's get into those things that I definitely think need an update. For one, I aggressively wrote a self-insert character, and it's not even a good one. Like, it's not even who I actually was. There's no flaws. This character could do no wrong, and she is incredibly boring, and I do not like her. So she has a lot of room to grow and become a more interesting character, and there's a lot more dynamic things I can add that will make her a lot more interesting. The story follows 3 main characters, and the relationship between them definitely has a lot of room to grow. It is not at all where I would want it to be. It's very one note, one single level, and not genuine feeling. It feels very much like you took some people and you threw them in a room and told them to interact like they're friends. It's not a genuine friendship, and I actually made it on purpose that 2 of them didn't really like each other, but I didn't give any reason why they would still be around each other. So I'm definitely going to need to fix that up and give them something more to connect them, because I like the slight conflict that them not really liking each other brings, but I need them to be friends. It needs to be a conflict that's believable between friends and not necessarily something that is forced upon them as like, you guys don't like each other, but you have to be around each other. That's not very interesting, but having that connection of friendship and then something that shoves a wedge between them is more interesting by and large than just making people have a frenemy situation just cuz. There is the very start of meaning in this, and it just stops immediately, abruptly, shortly thereafter, because it is a one-act play. So giving it a second act and having the time to actually delve into the meaning, I think will make it a lot more impactful and more of a heavy hitter than what it is right now, which reads a lot more like satire than it reads like something that I actually intended it to be, because there's no part of me that wants to write satire about police brutality. That is not what I ever intended from this, but reading it after everything that's happened since 2018, it isn't making the point that I wanted it to make. And a lot of that comes from the characters not being realistic and being jokes of people, especially my self-insert. They don't feel like real people, so a lot of it feels like a joke, and it's not a topic that I would like to joke about, and it's definitely gonna be a lot better with the space to have it fill up and the space to give more meaning behind certain situations and certain conflicts. And right now, it doesn't have that space because I was limited to a one act, and I was so confident. I was like, this is so good. This is amazing. I've never written anything better. And I will say, 2018 Sammy, you have a very great concept. You have a really great concept. You have a lot of the bones, but I'm going to put some of the meat on it now. And hopefully that will lead to actually having something that is worth being proud of 4 years later. So what is my action plan? My first step is obviously to reread the script, which I have done. I have done a couple of times now to be able to narrow down what critiques I know I want to work on in this first draft of rewriting my draft. My first draft of rewriting my former final draft. I've already done that. All of my critiques that I am focusing on are in this video, so that's a great way to hold myself accountable for the things that I am focusing on. Once I get through all of that, I will go through and I will reread the text again with a less critical eye and more so highlighting the moments that stand out as something good, something that I think could be taken and maybe updated in the language and the characterization, because I will be updating the characters into the next iteration, scenes that I think are working for what they're trying to do, and put those into a new outline of sort of, this is the goal of each individual scene, which is a way of outlining I think works really well for plays because they are broken down into those scenes and it's really easy to move from one scene to the next scene in a lot of situations for plays. So I'll be outlining like scene 1, this is the goal. Here's what the characters are gonna need to have done in this situation. Scene 2, all of this stuff. And when I go through that, I will mark out like scene 7 in draft 1 can go into scene 14 in this version. So I can move those things that I think have potential into the next version and see how they can grow and develop into that new space. Because I do think that there are things in this script that have the potential to be better than what they are if placed into a better frame, if that makes any sense. The current surrounding situations to those moments aren't doing those moments the justice that they deserve. So I'll pull those out and put those into the outline. I've started doing that. I'm not quite done, but that's my next step. After that, I will spend some time with each of my main characters, figuring out what their voices are, how they exist, what their motivations are, what makes them different from the other characters in the scene, what their relationships are with the other characters, how those relationships influence how they speak to each other, what changes when they're speaking to other characters, all of those things that you would generally want to know about any characters in any platform of writing. I will go through those and develop those characters so that writing will become more natural, because plays are just dialogue. You really have to know how your characters sound and who they are and why they sound that way, and give them that space to exist just by their voice and their actions. And you don't get to be in any characters' heads. You don't get to know what any of their like internal motivations are. You just get to see what they outwardly put out. So you have to really know what makes them put out outwardly what they do. Once I am comfortable with the characters, I will write out everything that I think will happen by hand, because it's a play. It's shorter than a book, but I do think that my experience of writing by hand is better on all accounts and platforms than typing or any other form of writing would be, because I have a tendency to get distracted by spelling mistakes or not feeling like something looks right on the page rather than hearing it as well as I do when I'm writing by hand. My handwriting isn't neat. I know that. I'm fine with that. Writing by hand gives me the freedom to just go. It's really hard to delete if you're writing in pen, and it's very fluid for me. I'm faster, I believe. I haven't actually tested it in a while. I think I'm faster writing by hand than I am typing. And it's a lot less tiring because I typically use fountain pens, and that's just like a very smooth experience, and you don't really have to like tighten or flex your arm muscles, where typing I feel like takes a lot more energy out of my hands. So there's a lot more loss of momentum when I'm typing something than there is when I'm writing it. And I can't communicate to my hands typing as fast as I can to my handwriting. I also feel more connected to writing when I do it by hand than I do when I'm writing on the computer. So I will probably be doing a lot of my drafts at minimum outlining fully by hand, because it just feels better to me. And that's something that I know after having spent time in different college classes, being told to type something or being told to like get out a notebook and write something. Taking the time to actually write things by hand has always just been a better experience for me, and I feel more rewarded at the end of it. Once I finish writing out the script, I will read it, for one, see what that looks like, and then type it up. Reading it gives me a chance to be like, oh, well, that doesn't make any sense, and fix it while I'm typing it, which is less work than typing out the whole thing. and a lot less work than rewriting the whole thing to fix mistakes. I'll fix the mistakes that I catch while reading the handwritten version by typing it into a draft. Once I get that draft where I feel good about it, which I hope won't take me very long, but you never know, I will send it out to some people that I trust and I know will give me good feedback on it and genuinely want to help me make this story better, make this script better, people who understand playwriting as a craft, and have them give me feedback on it. Then I'll do another round of edits based on that feedback. Maybe I'll send it out again. Maybe I'll send it to different people. Maybe I'll send it to people who don't really understand playwriting and see what they think about the general story of it. And hopefully my goal is to submit it this year to a new play festival. I'm not sure if that will happen. I'm not sure if I will be able to submit it, but that's my goal, is to be able to be done in time to submit it to this festival. Whether I get into the festival is not a part of the goal. I just want to submit it. And I have a feeling that by submitting it, I would get more of a professional critique than something that comes from like friends and former classmates. But that is the ultimate grand scheme plan that I have for editing this play. And I am very motivated by it. It makes me really excited to think about. And with times being as they are, I've been doing a lot, but I haven't been feeling very motivated by writing lately. And this is honestly making me feel a lot more rewarded by the momentum that I feel going forward into this experience of rewriting this play that I know has a lot of potential, and it's not coming from somewhere that I have to develop immediately from nothing. I feel like this is going to be a great way to throw me back into the groove of things, and I'm really excited to do that. And I'm honestly very much looking forward to where it goes from there. So that is my current plan on my revision status of a play that I wrote in 2018. But that is all that I've got for you today. I hope that this provided some kind of value to you. I know it's not my normal type of writing tip videos, but I feel like it can provide me a lot of value to see how other people are looking into their processes, what processes are working for them. It's nice to feel like you're part of somebody's plan from my perspective when there's like the potential for something to happen. And I wanted you to feel like you're a part of my plan because now you know what the goal is and you can hold me accountable for it. You can check in on it if you would like. But if you enjoyed this video, leave a like. It'll really help me out. It'll show YouTube that more people may like this video. It'll also show me that I can make more videos like this and people would enjoy them. If you don't want to miss any of my uploads, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell next to it. I'm here every Tuesday and Saturday for Writing Tip Tuesdays and Story Study Saturdays, so I will be back on Saturday for a story study.